This is a brief introduction to the difference between Torah-based mitzvot and what mitzvot that are called Rabbinic mitzvot. First of all, a mitzvah is not a good deed. A mitzvah is a commandment. There are many commandments that are good deeds, but a lot of Jews erroneously translate mitzvah as good deed. Now, there are, according to tradition, 613 mitzvot in the Torah, and the Orthodox believe there actually are. Problem with that is that when you actually go into the Torah to count them, various sages have slightly different lists. They vary by about 30 or 40 because they're not numbered in the Torah. So you've got to kind of figure out. So they started with the idea there were 613. That's because the numerical gematria significance of the word Torah is 611, plus the two that God spoke would be 613. In any case, there are hundreds and hundreds of commandments, and they are called mitzvot deoraita. D''Oraita, mitzvot from the Torah. But there are also mitzvot derabbanan, from the rabbis. For example, just think about it for a second. When you light Chanukah candles, and every time you say a bracha that begins with the 10-word introduction, it's got to be a commandment, because you're saying, the last 4 words say, who sanctified us by our commandments and commanded us to do something, in this case, lahadlik ner shel Chanukah. Well, if lahadlik ner shel Chanukah, but Chanukah wasn't in the Torah, so obviously this is a commandment added after the Torah. Well, there are 7 of them. So what are the commandments considered to be mitzvot derabbanan? Commandments from the sages, meaning the era of the Talmud, and not modern rabbis. So one of them is to recite a blessing for each enjoyment. Now, you're not commanded to eat an apple. So when you eat an apple, you don't say the extra words, Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tivanu, who commanded us. You just say, thank you, God, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, for the apple, Borei pri ha'etz. However, it's a mitzvah to thank God when you're going to eat an apple. That's considered a rabbinic mitzvah. Number 2, to ritually wash your hands before eating. That's not a commandment in the Torah. It's described as the priests would do that, but it's considered to be a mitzvah. So when we do that, we do say the 10-word introduction, including who sanctified us by your commandments and commanded us, al netilat yadayim. 3rd, to prepare your lights to light Shabbat candles, to prepare them in advance of Shabbat. 4, to construct an eruv. Basically, you can carry your couch back and forth in your house on Shabbat, but you can't carry a handkerchief outside your house, technically, because that would be carrying into a public domain. But if there's a way to extend your house to a public domain, and I know it sounds like, if you're not part of the system, a little bit fishy, but it's perfectly legitimate according to the Talmud to extend your private domain to the public, and that's why I went to Camp Ramah. There was a string basically around the whole camp. It was called the Eruv. It allowed us to carry our baseball mitts on Shabbat in the camp, our beach towels, etc. So that's considered to be a mitzvah derabbanan, and there's a whole tractate in the Talmud called Eruvin discussing that. Now, reciting Hallel Psalms on the holy days, the collection of Psalms from the Bible that we call Hallel, that's also a mitzvah derabbanan, because we do say a bracha saying Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et Hallel. Now, number 6 is to light the Chanukah candles. As I said, you know the first bracha every night is lahadlik ner shel Chanukah, including the 10-word introduction. And the final one is to read Esther on Purim, because it says in Esther to read it, but Esther is way past the Torah. Esther's in the 3rd part of the Bible called the Ketuvim. And so how can it be a mitzvah if it's from the Torah? Because it's a mitzvah derabbanan. Now, can rabbis today add mitzvot? Well, the general consensus of the Jewish community is no, we don't add mitzvot. Probably the most famous one is Emil Fackenheim, a theologian from Canada, University of Toronto, who said there's a 614th commandment we've got to add, which is not to grant Hitler a posthumous victory by forgetting the Holocaust. But that's not technically a commandment, but it's something that I think a lot of Jews feel. Anyway, that was a brief introduction to the difference between a mitzvah derabbanan, a commandment from the rabbis, and a mitzvah deoraita, a mitzvah from the Torah.